Julian Assange is a step closer to being extradited to America after the US government won its bid to overturn a UK court decision. US authorities appealed against an earlier ruling that the WikiLeaks founder should not be extradited because of the risk of suicide. The 50-year-old Australian is wanted in the US to face trial on 18 charges in relation to WikiLeaks' publication of classified documents. Press freedom advocates say Assange is being prosecuted for exposing war crimes, and his case sets a dangerous precedent. Assange has spent 2 years behind bars at London's Belmarsh prison. Joining me live now for more on this is Nina Dos Santos in London. Nina, can you talk us through what happened and how this verdict unfolded?
Yeah, Anna. Well, earlier today, the High Court, as you said there, reversed an earlier decision made by a district judge earlier this year, which blocked Julian Assange's extradition to the United States, where, as you said, he's wanted and has been charged with 18 criminal offences, allegations of criminal offences, and 17 of them are under the US Espionage Act. Now, the previous ruling, when this blocked this extradition, was largely delivered on the grounds of the state of his mental health. Essentially, the district judge back then, Vanessa Barrett, said that he was running a real risk of suicide if he was held away from his family and friends with very little contact over in the United States. Since then, lawyers on behalf of the US government have appealed that decision on the basis of saying that they could offer better conditions for his detainment in the United States. They could, even if he were convicted of some of these offences, agree to send him to Australia to serve the remainder of his sentence there. And one of the other things that they also managed to convince the judge with, it appears, is the argument that if many other cases in the future were to argue that they couldn't be extradited to the United States on the basis of their mental health, that could have a really dangerous judicial precedent. These were the kinds of arguments that appear to have convinced the two judges at the High Court, but this is by no means over, because what they've said is they want the judgment to go back again to the district judge. It could then potentially go to the Supreme Court in the United Kingdom. Julian Assange's side have made it clear that they wish to appeal this straight away. And then it would eventually, based upon what any court has decided, have to be rubber stamped by the Home Secretary. So this is just another chapter in a long-running legal saga. Obviously, it's a loss for Julian Assange's campaigners and his family and friends who've been very vocal about this, but it is by no means over. Anna?
And have you heard any direct any direct reactions from his legal team or family and friends? We were looking at some live pictures just there. It looked like someone was addressing that crowd.
That's right. It may well be Stella Morris, who is his fiancée. He shares 2 children, 2 young sons with her. And she tweeted almost immediately that she believed that this decision by the High Court to, as I said, reverse that earlier decision to block Julian Assange's extradition to the United States was, as she put it, quote, a grave miscarriage of justice. Obviously, the real point here is a question mark over freedom of speech and whether or not, if Julian Assange is extradited to the United States, that could have grave implications. Julian Assange's campaigners and other freedom of speech campaigners have argued consistently throughout this case over whether or not other similar issues could come to the fore in the future if, say, US classified material is published by a non-US citizen in the United Kingdom or anywhere else in the world with similar extradition treaties. Remember that this material was leaked by a US citizen, Chelsea Manning, who is and has served a sentence as a result of that. And so Julian Assange's side has always claimed, as have indeed many organisations that represent many journalists and freedom of speech advocates like Reporters Without Borders, Amnesty International, etc., they've consistently claimed that this sets a very, very dangerous precedent, that journalists could get extradited to the United States if they publish US classified information. Having said that, though, the US obviously feels strongly enough that they counter-argue that they don't believe Julian Assange is just a journalist. Remember, he was originally accused of a conspiracy to commit computer intrusion, which is essentially a hacking offence, and that consistently has been their argument. But as I said, these are arguments that are likely to continue to play out for the next few years. Kristen Hafferson, who is the CEO of WikiLeaks, the organisation that Julian Assange founded with him, has said, we will continue to fight this right until the end. But this has been a huge legal fight already. Remember, Julian Assange entered the Ecuadorian embassy to avoid charges sex charges related to activities in Sweden back in 2012. Sweden then dropped those charges, but then he was only hauled out of the Ecuadorian embassy in 2019, and then he was sent to that high-security prison, Belmarsh, where he's been, as you pointed out, for the last 3 years. So it doesn't look as though Julian Assange, at the moment, will be released anytime soon while we await the decisions of this ongoing legal drama. Anna?
Thank you so much for that update. Nina Dos Santos from CNN over in London for us.